Welcome back, fellow completionists. We're all completionists today because today we are finishing the Korok cosplay I've been working on. Well, it's today for y'all. I still have to do all the everything, which is going to take some time. The design of a Korok in Breath of the Wild is pretty simple. Like, they're kind of just little dudes, but unfortunately, I am just not capable of keeping anything simple. So I'm gonna be making, of course, their iconic leaf mask and little stump branches, but I'm also going to be making a few of their little puzzle indicators to really take this build to that next level. Also, hi, I'm Lizard Leigh, and taking cosplay builds several levels above what's necessary is generally what we do on this channel. I'm glad you're here if you haven't been here before. What you need to know before we go any further is that I have no idea how I'm going to make a lot of those things that I just said. Just not a clue, but we will figure it out together. Yahaha, my dudes. I'm gonna start with the branches hood and the leaf mask because I think those are going to take the longest, so I am starting them first. I am being a responsible boy this time. When I first started making this build, I was building it for Hallmat, a convention in December. I realized it wasn't gonna get done in time. It got shelved. It happens. Sometimes you try to do something and fail, and that's okay. Sometimes you think you can fight a Lionel, and you just can't. That's never happened to me before. So I picked the project back up in the new year and gave it a fresh start. One of the last things I did before I pulled the plug on the convention deadline was the hood. The base of the hood is made out of this really wacky thermoplastic material called Foss-shape? Fossy-shape? I got some tinfoil from the Dollar Tree and I sculpted the branches, and then I heat formed the Foss shape around that, and then I kind of just hand sewed it all together. I do think it resulted in the most powerful work in progress shots I've ever gotten. Like, this was my peak. For sure. I know I could have done like a little teeny leaf hat to the side as a kind of gentle nod, but I didn't want this part to be a gentle nod. I wanted this part to be like, oh my gosh, that's a Korok. The mask I didn't really start last December, but I did figure out the scale for it. I basically just printed out an unbelievably pixelated rip from the game of what one of these masks look like. There's a lot of Korok masks, and I picked the one that had the energy I felt was closest to me as a person. I know a lot of cosplayers think that foam is really easy. I'm just not one of them. Fabric makes way more sense to me. We're facing our fears this build. That's the theme. Okay, let's cut some foam. Look at this. Look at this nonsense. So ready for this to be like just the silliest thing I've ever made. If some people who have no joy in their heart think it's cursed, I have done my job right. The real ones will think it's wonderful. I, for one, am very grateful that it's canon that Link wears the Korok mask with the mouth being where his eyes go, because there's just no way I would be able to get any visuals if it weren't through here. So I'm gonna keep plugging away on sanding this, but I cannot spend absolutely all day doing that because I need to work on decorating the tree branches hood. I think what I'm gonna do is just go find a Korok in the game and grab some muslin and kind of try and mimic what the swirls look like. And then once I get that pattern, I can figure out how I am going to make the swirls. Standing next to it does have such like, don't speak to me or my son ever again energy. It might be a little bit hard to see on camera, but I'm feeling good about the way that we are correcting what was formerly like a really cursed looking Finn the Human hood. You know, as a special treat, I think I'm gonna put this on. Give me a second. We'll find out together if this framing works once I actually put it on. Here we go. Oh, hell yeah. Okay. I'm feeling really good about this, actually. What an incredibly powerful look. Who knew? Who knew you were gonna get all of this? There's no way around the fact that this is going to be a cosplay where I don't have like a great field of vision. It's just like as if I accidentally zoomed in on the like Sheikah slate and I've only got yay much of the world to see. So the good news is I kind of have a little bit of an idea of what I'm going to do for this embellishment. Oh gosh, wait, let me just bring this down a bit. A part of this project that I have a whole whole other video on, so I'm just gonna be skating over it for this part, is I've already finished making the whole outfit for a Korok. Part of that outfit were some boot covers, and I knew design-wise I wanted the embellishment I did for the boot covers to be the same embellishment-ish that I use in the hood. This is also great because it means I got a practice run to figure things out on a part of the cosplay that is not going to be in as many photos as this part of the cosplay. So for the darker grain swirls, what I did with those was I unevenly slashed the pattern pieces and then I rearranged them irregularly and hand tacked them down. This added days to that project, which is why I'm starting this part now. I left the lighter grain swirls totally plain on the boot covers. For up here, however, I want them to look cool and textured. How will I do that? Absolutely no one knows. I'm probably gonna pull out one of my favorite reference books, The Art of Fabric Manipulation. It is like one of my favorite things to just thumb through if I'm feeling like I don't know what I wanna do for a part of a costume. Then I'm gonna grab my spray and baste and see what happens. We'll find out. It's been a few days. Honestly, just cutting everything out and getting it pinned on was a solid day. I haven't even started hand sewing yet. And it's because there's all these like kind of fiddly bits that I have to like curve around back here. It's way darker than I planned on the fabric underneath, which just means there isn't as much contrast. It's just something I'm gonna have to figure out. That's cosplay, it's figuring things out. It's been about 2 weeks since the last time I turned the camera on. What have I been doing those 2 weeks, you may ask? Hand sewing. I'm like halfway there, and I'm halfway there to being halfway there. Mathematically, one could even call that a quarter of the way there. What I mean by that combination of words that I just said is that I'm done with kind of the bottom darker swirl, but the top swirl is still very much just pinned in place. If I lean back, can you get the vibes? Are you feeling it? Are you feeling it now? Are we getting this? But this is not what we are working on today. That's what I get. Oh my God. You know, this is why the Lord invented magnetic pincushions. So as I was saying before, disaster struck, today we are putting the hood aside to focus on making some teeny tiny little Korok props. Now, how am I going to incorporate these bitty props onto an outfit? That's a great question. I don't have the answer yet. This is a question for one of those many future lizards. I'm confident they will be able to figure it out. In Breath of the Wild, when you see an acorn, you shoot it with an arrow and you get a Korok. It's such a simple puzzle, it barely even counts as a puzzle. But I like the acorn, so I'm gonna make it. This is one of the things I already made with foam clay because I knew it would take a while to dry. I might use like warble scraps for the little cap. Ooh, and I think I actually have leaves that I can use already for the little leaves that are like under the cap. After being stuck in hand sewing hell for like 2 weeks, I'm just genuinely really excited to work on something small that's going to look like something way faster than it's taking this hood to look like something. The next sign that I want to do, are they signs? Like, I've been calling them Korok signs because it's what you'd see when you know there's a Korok. Is that wrong? Is that right? Roast me in the comments if I'm wrong. But the next one I knew I wanted to make is a tree stump. Sometimes you find these little tree stumps that have the little leaf on them and you know that it's a Korok there. I think these are the ones that like you run over the leaf and it goes pa, and then a timer starts and you have to like scamper through the little ticking down circle in time. Some of these were hard for me. Some of these I was like really scrambling. I got dummy lucky, and the last time I went to Michael's for this cosplay, I found a Christmas tree ornament that's just a little ring of wood. Like, this is such a time saver. Are you kidding me? So I'm gonna put on another episode of Dimension 20 in the background. I finished The Unsleeping City and I started Starstruck, which there's only 7 episodes of right now, so I'm like full of theories and questions. And I'm gonna finish this tea and live my Thumbelina Redwall fantasy, you know? So let's go. I don't know, I'm very proud of this little makeshift like paint stick thing. There's probably a real word for it. Can I offer you a nice egg in this trying time? In the back of my head, I had kind of been thinking that these would probably get attached to the strap of my purse, but I just had the thought, what if I made specifically the stump go on a little thigh holster? I think that would add a really fun asymmetry to the design because I already have a crossbody bag, and I think having a thigh holster tree stump on the other side would bring an incredible energy and also like a fun balancing out of the purse on the other side. This is where we're at on our little stump. Our acorn top is looking like this after a few different coats, and our acorn butt is looking like this after a few different coats. Wow, look at these. The battery light is flashing at me, so I'm gonna take that as a sign to get a snack and keep on working for as long as I can. You know the episode of SpongeBob, the one that like did low-key make me gay, where like they're co-parenting, I think a baby scallop together, and there's something Patrick keeps saying he's gonna do, and he's like, tomorrow for sure, I'll get to it eventually. Ugh. That like progression of unending time is absolutely how I felt hand sewing the Korok hood. Hi, welcome back. It's been a minute. If you asked me before I started this channel, I would be like, oh my gosh, I would never film with my sides like a freaking inch long and my hair faded to practically green. But here we are. It's been about another week and a half. It's kind of like late afternoon on an overcast day. We're getting a late start. The teeny tiny props turned out absolutely wonderful, and I'm going to show you those in like the big reveal a little bit later. But first we had to get back to, you know, the non-stop hand sewing nonsense circus parade festival.
All Blackbeard sparring grill and other delicacies and delights and fishing equipment.
This process did take me 3 campaigns of Dimension 20. Now, not full campaigns start to finish, but 3 different ones. So with the hand sewing done, our next step for today is going to be figuring out the lighter swirls. I was really liking the look of the irregular pleats in the fabric manipulation book. However, I was like, I cannot do any more hand sewing at this point. Psychologically, it would just break me. At first I tried machine stitching down some strips of fabric, but it looked way too tidy. And then I tried literally just hot gluing it, and honestly, I think that turned out pretty good. I need to be a little bit careful because the hot glue can seep through the fabric if I have too heavy a hand or if I press too hard on there. To have the hood really look like a tree, I would love it to be as seamless as possible, and having something as messy looking as this is great because you can kind of just hide the little seams. I just hope it's gonna be worth it. I hope it all like lays correctly and is the colors I want it to be and gives the vibes that I want, and like, Korok should not be causing me this much stress, right? It's a good stress though, I promise it is. We feel this stress so that then at the very end we can look back and say, oh my gosh, it all worked out. Hopefully. Okay, let's go, let's get the hot glue gun. So we have had a few like little time skips in this video so far, and I am here right now joining you live from the other side of the largest time skip ever. I think I started filming this in like mid-February, and we are very close to May right now. As the ancient meme says, it's gonna be May. This time travel did happen for good reason though. It's because in keeping with my trend of being like a top 500 Switch gamer, I made a whole other cosplay. I made Flick from Animal Crossing New Horizons. It was a sponsored project. It had a deadline that I very much had to meet. There's gonna be a whole other video about that whole other cosplay. We don't need to talk about it anymore because frankly, I'm really excited to get back to Hyrule and get this cosplay finished. Really great news is the hood is finished and it looks so much better than I could have dreamed. Like, I was so frustrated when I was working on it, and now every time I look at it in my workshop, I'm like, dang, it was so worth it though. It looks really good. So we're gonna try and ride those good feelings. We're gonna try and not get too stressed because today we are swerving back into doing some tiny things. So with the stump and the acorn out of the way, that means we are now focusing on making the flower and making the pinwheel. Both of these are way more complex than the first two, but you know, we're gonna figure it out. So in the game, sometimes you see these like big honkin' yellow flowers. Sometimes you need to chase them down as they pop to different locations. Sometimes you need to visit different clusters in like ascending numerical order. They are very conspicuous looking flowers. It's good game design that they look really weird and they don't look like normal flowers, but I think it would make a pretty bad cosplay if I made these flowers that look really lumpy and really thick. Also, Michaels knows what's up, and Michaels had a bunch of teeny tiny little potted plants with leaves that look almost exactly like the leaves in the Korok flower. So I have that as a jumping off point, and I have some yellow rosettes that I got from the Garment District. It's gonna be about figuring out how we bring them together somehow. We're also gonna be getting started on the pinwheel, which is like a craft for children. It's the kind of thing you make in like a preschool, so I don't know why I have been feeling really intimidated by making it literally this whole time. In the game, the pinwheels are like a really lovely reddish brown in the daytime, and then they full on glow at night. And that is one of the few challenges in this build that I'm just like, no thanks, I'm not even gonna try and touch that. We are just making the daytime version. I've just been going back and forth for ages. Like, I have some fabric that's kind of the right color. Paper is obviously the best thing to use, but like I worry about paper ripping. And I think at this point, I am just gonna use 2mm foam. This way I can have it all be one flat sheet when it's the wheel, and I can just paint it to be different colors. And I know it's not gonna rip. Actually, I can't remember if I showed these, but here's our finished little stump. I was so worried about it looking smooth enough, and I think it looks really cute. So we are halfway through our tiny props. We're gonna try and like ride the good vibes of these looking really cute to make these two today. I was thinking I was gonna use craft wire, and I was not sure I was gonna get it green, but guess what? They have wire that's already green. And straight up, I got this out of our gardening shelf. I think this was part of a Christmas present from my girlfriend. I've used it for plants, and now I'm using it in fake plants. I was so proud of myself for having the brain cells to realize I shouldn't use hot glue on the styrofoam because that would almost definitely melt. And I forgot that I should also not use E6000 because that will also melt the styrofoam chemically. I should know this. I've literally accidentally melted styrofoam props before, and I guess today I was going to melt a styrofoam prop again. We now have a gaping hole that I'm gonna have to fix with some foam later. It's not the end of the world, but PSA, please use your brain and don't put E6000 on styrofoam. The way the pinwheel is going to come together is I'm just using a sewing straight pin because when I Googled this craft for preschoolers, I saw them all using push pins or straight pins, so that's what we're doing. I did a few tests to figure out how I wanted to do the leaf veins, and I think honestly a silver Sharpie is gonna be my best bet. I think the rest of the night is just going to be painting. I'm gonna find a really long YouTube video of some Zelda ambiance, and I'm gonna keep scooting. I haven't quite worked it out yet, I'm still workshopping it, but there's a joke in there somewhere about wearing the Korok leaf mask while I'm wearing a mask at a convention. There's a mask for mask joke in there somewhere. I don't have it yet, but I know it's in there. It's really rainy today. If it were Breath of the Wild, we would not be able to get any climbing done, but it's not Breath of the Wild. We're not trying to climb. We are just trying to work on our Korok mask today. We're now all the way done with our teeny tiny bitty props, and that means that we are zooming back out to the very big picture and working on our very big mask that we started an eternity ago. So long ago that Cass is singing to me about it. So the mask has been cut out for ages and ages, but right now it looks really flat, there's not a lot of dimension to it, so I want to heat form it a little bit before I prime and paint it. The method that I'm going to be using to heat form it is hilariously, I spent a lot of time looking up tutorials from prop guys and how they make abs in their foam armor, and I'm going to be using that to give this Korok leaf some abs. I'm honestly mega worried about this because I just don't do a lot of heat forming. I'm not as comfortable with foam, but I've watched 6 YouTube videos of people doing slashes on the back with X-Acto knives and then heat forming out a little bit of dimension and then filling in the slashes with hot glue. So I'm it should be possible. Hopefully once I, pop my respirator on and get the heat gun in my hands, it'll all happen. I had to basically do some retroactive kind of patterning, so this is what it looks like after I've cut out all of the bits. Right now I'm gonna be hoarding all of these terrible paper cutouts because I printed out that pixelated leaf mask in December. There's absolutely no way I'm gonna be able to remember the print settings to recreate it. If anything goes disastrously wrong and I need to have a second version at the same scale, I don't have it. So, let's see if any calamities befall us in this crafting process. I have no idea how well any of that work in progress is gonna look on camera because I felt like I was all elbow. But look at this strong and powerful leaf mask. It's just the right amount of depth so that it's not like a flat foam sheet, but it also doesn't look like the leaf has abs. That sounds like a horror movie, right? The leaf has abs. You can see the part where I fucked up and accidentally burned the foam, but like, it happens, it'll get covered up. We're getting there, it's all happening. To be honest, I'm looking at this, and while I am excited about it, I am already terrified of painting it. I can hear the like awakened Decayed Guardian piano music starting to happen in my mind when I think about getting the paint looking good on this. But that is a worry for not today because I can sure prime the shit out of this. And we're gonna move on to some other stuff. Yeah, so it finally happened. Scientists are amazed. Present Lizard is the future Lizard that we've been talking so much about. All those problems that we were like, future Lizard, I'm taking a second and I am letting Present Lizard be future Lizard. I'm actually gonna jump into it because I'm like kind of crouched right now because I have the camera set up for me being back there. So hello, welcome to this room. It's time to make decisions about where the tiny props are going to go. Got our beautiful little acorn. We've got our functional pinwheel, and we have our little hanging flower. So for those of you who are just joining, last December actually we turned like a thrifted wicker purse off of Poshmark into this golden seed bag. Right now I'm thinking that the very nice long shoulder strap is going to be a good jumping off point to start to attach these. So let's make some decisions. As far as actually attaching them, I think I have in my stash a little backpack style hook. And as far as these guys, I'm probably just gonna grab some elastic and see what I can slide them into. I really did think I was gonna be gluing them on here, but now I just love these too much and I want them to be able to slide in and out. It's kind of just like, you know, the Zelda merchant vibes, which we all know I really fuck with. I have a feeling that this glamorous chapeau has mostly ended up on the cutting room floor because I mostly talked about it back in December when I thought I was making this for haul mat. So I'm gonna back up and explain to you what the fuck this is. So the Korok hood holds its own shape, but it obviously can't just float there. So when I started making the hood, I also made a little support cap. I had this fascinator in my stash already. I cut out a foam oval roughly to fit, and I kind of just pop it on my head with a little chin strap like that. And this silly little cap supports a lot of the weight of the hood itself. So anyway, I wanted to explain all of that because we're about to dive into this. Look at her, oh my gosh, she looks so good. I got in the zone and completely forgot to film it, so actually I'm just gonna put this on and then explain what this is. Kind of just slide her on. I once again have to like press myself against the door here to get everything in frame, but here she is. So basically when I put the hood on, there was a gap in between the felt and where my torso started. So I grabbed some muslin, I basically cut a strip. I messed around with the pattern a little bit, but didn't get too fancy with it. So right now this is pinned in place and I'm going to give it a try making it out of the overalls fabric. Time to de-hood. Ooh, we are in that final stretch. This is the time to add those last details that can totally make or break a look. I'm going to maybe slap together a quick little capelet. I'm going to maybe incorporate some fake plants. I'm going to try with every cell in my body to not get too lost in the sauce in this. I just need Zelda's spirit to guide me as I make decisions for the next few hours. I'm gonna like put on some dramatic video game music and make some choices, bring it all together. I was just thinking to myself that, you know, this would be a great chance to make some jokes about like, oh, we're finally facing Calamity Ganon. This is the final boss battle. But then I realized that I have maybe not told you that I have not beaten Breath of the Wild yet. I am like so committed to the long-term game that I actually defeated one divine beast per calendar year for 4 years. Part of me really wants to keep the theme going and like schedule defeating Calamity Ganon for 2023, but we are not taking that mindset today. Today we are storming the castle and we are making it happen. We're gonna finish painting the mask for sure. I actually bought off of Etsy some buckram like people use for fursuits and mascot costumes, covering up the back of the mask, finishing all of our last little embellishing details, making sure everything gets on my body, and then it's happening. I'm gonna drag some of my friends to Prospect Park where I live in Brooklyn. I don't live in Prospect Park, that would be wild, and we're going to do some kind of photo shoot out in nature. So if you're in New York City and you see someone dressed like a tree hanging out in Prospect Park sometime in May of 2022 when we're shooting this, you already know. You already know who it is. Before I sign off and get started crafting, just in case the audio gods strike us down in a New York City public park, which is very likely, I wanted to take a second and say from the bottom of my fucking heart, thank you. Thank you for following along. This has been a wild ride. I really thought this was gonna be like a fast build in December, and it totally ballooned into something really wonderful because people were following along and were so invested in it, and it made me want to give like 110% to this whole process. And it has meant more than I can put into words that people like following along with what I do. I quit my toxic day job in IT to focus on creating content like this. And I'm getting ready to launch memberships soon, which is absolutely terrifying because it's kind of make or break for if I can keep doing this. I know not everyone can, trust me, I have been living off, you know, ramen with an egg in it for many months, but if you want to support my work and help me keep making weird stuff, this is the way. Actually, none of this would have even happened without people who already set up recurring donations like Perchancey Cosplay, so thank you so much for that support that helped us get this far in the first place. If I really told you how much this support meant to me, we would be here all day, and we just can't do that because we have to finish this cosplay. So I'm gonna finish my tea and I'm gonna face my fears and we're gonna make it happen. And I will see you out in the wild.